You got everything you wanted, and now you're terrified by your reality. That's life as a Bills fan. We did it, and I just don't like it. They beat New England. We'll probably complain about the game. We'll see if Bitchy Kyle makes an appearance, but
I'll
man,
tell you
everything's
what,
set
make an
up, and I
appearance.
don't
You better hope Happy Kyle makes an appearance.
at this point, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm a Bills fan and everything that's ever happened to me is bad, but we everything lined up. We got everything we wanted. How are you feeling, Sean?
We didn't get everything we wanted. I mean, we got,
You
you
know,
know,
you
you
got you got the Sunday
150
night
points, Greg.
you got the Sunday night primetime matchup against Miami. How they
Mm.
won does not matter. How Miami lost doesn't matter, although that was a little juicy. Um, you got it. It's there.
It
You
doesn't
win.
matter.
You're
Kind of matters. Well,
I so was the New England game that bad?
Yeah. And that's our podcast. Thank you for joining us, Revolver Records.
No
Um,
notes, no notes. That's perfect.
well, especially coming off the Chargers game, we thought they were done with lulls, two game, multiple game
Lulls.
lulls. And, you know, it wasn't pretty. I mean, let's get into it. We got the offense. I mean, especially the first half was dreadful. Allen has been off for maybe a couple weeks now. Terrible first half, maybe one of his worst first halves. Bunch of drops mixed in. Offensive line didn't have a great day. Diggs wasn't on the field a ton in the second half. Maybe trying to keep him fresh when they were doing running plays, but maybe something else and that's just the offense we're talking about here.
It was interesting. I don't like it was worst case scenario, but the team you were playing was so bad they couldn't even take advantage of worst case scenario. Like it would
Yeah.
not matter how bad the Bills were, the Patriots and Bucky Zappi couldn't do it. Buddy Zappi, I'm sorry. That's what Sean calls him, Buddy Zappi. They were not going to beat the Bills. So it was that combination of Allen passes just being kind of off. The Patriots did something to that offensive line where they disrupted. They did good. Like Belichick's good at the defense. And then it was when the passes were on the Bills receivers or running backs dropped them. And when the receivers were wide open running down the sidelines, Allen was just a little bit off. And I was not as panicked watching this game as the world was. I didn't hate the game as much. It was good.
I didn't hate or I wasn't panicked because the
That's
Patriots
kind of what I mean.
were so bad
Mm,
that
they're
like
just
you can't
terrible.
you And it's not like in no this team, way. it's not like this team has lost to a so bad team this Yeah, it's year not like they ever. lost to the Patriots earlier in the year. So like what was I to be worried about? I think I'm happy they won, but I'm not happy with the win. The offense was terrible. There's only a matter of it ended yesterday when the game ended. You're no longer gonna play Bailey Zappi. You know what I mean? Mm. You're gonna play top of the line quarterbacks, and you're gonna have to go toe to toe. And is this offense, are you gonna look at them and are you fully competent? This offense is primed and ready going into the playoffs to go toe to toe with anybody. Now, we all know we've said this for 2 years. We know the level at which they could play because of this of Allen, pretty much. But the past 4 weeks have been non-existent of that, minus just the run game. So sure, if you're happy they can roll into the playoffs with maybe the best running game in the league, sure, but then don't bitch about it when they run 30 times a game and it's 17-14 with 2 minutes left in the game.
I
The
don't think that the perfect offense exists. Like, are they firing on all cylinders? Did they fix all their problems? I don't think that exists. I think that's more week to week.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
if it's week to week strung out over multiple weeks, then it's not It's not like there's like variance. It's bad, bad, bad.
Yeah, that's almost the thing with Bills fans. It's like everyone has mulligans. The good team that loses to the bad team here and there, but just like it's been a pattern all season. We thought it kind of got better with the OC change, and I think the offense has overall got better, but this past 2 weeks especially has
Yeah.
been back to kind of the slog.
What scares me going in, so Joe Brady takes over after Denver, correct? So they have the
Yes.
Jets game where it looked like it went great, or it did go great. The Philly game, which they lost, but not because of the offense. The offense was the best we had seen it since the Miami game. Then KC they win, but the offense again, both teams, it's 2017. Phillies or Kansas City's been struggling. The Bills offense kind of is like, whatever, it's not clicking on all cylinders. Dallas, the run game is amazing. They don't need to throw the ball. They threw it 15 times with a dominant run game. Allen still only completed 7 of those passes for less than 100 yards. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, the opportunities were there to complete more passes and they still couldn't. And then the Chargers, it was whatever. It struggled. It looks like Ken Dorsey was out there again. That fucking guy's gone. And then yesterday was horrible pass game, except for the opening drive of the second quarter where they got the majority of their yards
Yeah.
passing. Through the past 4 games, this is now going into the playoffs. Allen is completing 60. Allen has completed 60 of 108 passes. That's 55% completion for 733 yards. That's 183 yards a game. That's JP Lossman numbers for 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions across 4 games.
Is that
I
off the top of your
mean,
head?
if absolutely not. I did that while you guys were talking because I didn't do
That
research.
that's how you saw Kyle go carry the one to
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
the
actually I had my
Mathy
girlfriend
Kyle.
below the desk going,
Mathy
what are these numbers?
Kyle.
if you want to be positive,
I don't.
our I don't know, that's true. But wait for this opening sentence, Kyle. Joe B. Huh?
Okay.
That's a okay.
I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm
I'll
listening.
shut up.
Joe B said in his weekly kind of recap article that one of the worst games Josh Allen ever had was a couple years ago, the second last week of the season against Atlanta, and that was right before we went on the kind of perfect Allen playoff run with the New England game and then the Kansas City 13 seconds. And he was kind of lights out in the three
I'm not
games
listening
after
anymore.
then.
I'm not listening anymore.
Okay.
Who wrote that article? Joe Brady? Come on, folks.
Oh, wow.
Got him.
I was Kyle. I'm interested how it was in the stadium after that initial run back because I wasn't necessarily worried they would lose. I was a little worried, but it was more just like you know it just kind of fueled all the bitterness in me where like I was like, oh, thank God we're spending 2 million a year on Tyler Metcalf so we could have the Patriots. The only thing they do well is special teams, and even that they weren't
Yeah.
amazing at this year. And it's like just kick the ball out of the end zone. What like,
Yeah.
eh, oh, but
I well, I think it was more, again, I think because we were at a point where we're definitely not going to lose to the Patriots. Like the team
wow,
seems to be on is on it's a little winning streak. There's a new, since Joe Brady took over, regardless of how I feel about the last 4 games, there's a new, like, we're back. There is nothing more to complain about besides McDermott being soft. There's just kind of like this, we're back. So they ran it back, it got quiet, but like no one was like, we're gonna fucking lose this game. Everyone was just like, that's kind of ridiculous, man. How dumb is that? And then the offense sucked, but then the defense was so dominant those first 3
yeah.
drives that everyone was like, oh, we're fine. The offense will fucking suck today if they want, but there's
Well,
no way. And then, they ended up putting up some points, but I don't think anyone. It was more of just a very loose atmosphere.
Well, let's talk about the D, which was Kyle's yearbook quote. We like you said, had a dominant first half performance. Douglas, I mean, what a pickup by Bean he's been this season. Ed Oliver, another crazy game. Good
Yeah.
all around performance. You could tell I mean, obviously Patriots offense not that great, but just the addition of Jones coming back seemed like it was big for the defensive line.
It's crazy that they're adding Jones and that it wasn't like adding Von Miller and he needs like a year and a half to come back. Like Jones did what he normally does and he played like I read the same Joe B recap you did. He played like over 50% of the snaps too. So that's crazy to me that he tore a pectoral and came back that fast and
Yeah.
was playing at more he was playing at a higher rate than he did before he tore his pectoral. So that's pretty crazy and super, super exciting that he could be there. But they're good. And all I can think of while watching this game, like, yeah, I wish Diggs caught more passes, but the way they beat Miami with a lesser team than they have right now, just I don't know. That's all
I
I
don't
can think
know.
about is
Are
how
they
bad they beat
lesser
them.
though?
They were lesser than
That's what, or lesser
they
than, were they though? They had Milano. Wasn't Trey White still playing, or did he get hurt that game? I think he got hurt that game, but
uh
I mean, with Milano still playing,
Was Milano playing? Oh yeah, he was lost to the Okay, so Jones is there. Okay, I got that screwed up. Thank you, Kyle, for keeping me on. Matthew Kyle for keeping me honest. That was the next week against the Jaguars. They lost their entire team.
Yeah.
Okay, but they didn't
The
have Razul Douglas.
they did not have Razul Douglas. No.
the speaking
Oh
of the defense, they finally did it. Von Miller inactive.
yeah,
Huh? That was
Yeah.
fun. I mean, maybe a couple weeks too late, but the fact that they pulled the trigger on that, I almost wasn't expecting that as a possibility with how much money he makes.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's
not
the
after the defensive coordinator was talking about like how much he adds that we can't see. Like that shit always bothers me.
yeah.
Like, oh yeah,
I
definitely he
think
adds a
that
lot.
was I think that was a sign that he was going to be inactive
Hmm.
because that was him being like, we're gonna make him inactive, but we need to talk him up so he doesn't like lose or get mad, lose
And
confidence or get mad.
And also just how bizarre you go back to that press conference, specifically Bean had like 2 weeks ago, where he's like, well, we're gonna keep him on the field after this incident because he's too important to the team. We're not, and it's just like he's on the bench 2 weeks later. You could have just looked like a hero and benched him right after that, and the team would have been better. It would have been the same results anyway. Like it's just such
He's
a yeah.
Sorry, he's so important, and but like that week, it's like, oh yeah, he's super important, but he did everything he needed to do. So this week we can bench him, but he was still super important.
And even like I noticed Kingsley Jonathan a couple of times, whereas like
Yes,
I haven't noticed Von Miller in 2 months. Um, I also could see Latavius Murray maybe being that next benched veteran. He started the
Man,
season strong, been a little invisible, had a huge drop. I think they still like him as pass protection, so maybe I'm off base here. But
he
Ty
he
Johnson looks decent as the number two. Leonard
he had a
Fournette's
huge
there.
he had the huge drop, then kept them in. And also, let's not forget like that 3rd and 1 run where
Yep.
he again, that's what a 3rd and 1 run is going to be,
Mm,
pushing the pile. But he hit the back of the pile and somehow turned around and was facing Allen. Like that's,
mm.
I don't know. Yeah, I just, how many teams employ this? Oh, we have a bigger back strategy. Like, how long is that gonna? Is McDermott gonna be like? Yeah, that's the way. We want a bigger back. Like, oh, James Cook is averaging 6 yards a carry throughout the season, and
Mm.
let's put in Latavius Murray. He's 1,000 years old. That'll help. Might
I
as well
think
just get Tolbert back.
I think he is. I think he is younger than
Not in
any of
football years.
that's true, which is kind of like dog years. Um, Kyle, do you have a tweet of the game?
Ooh, I do. Oh, I forgot this one because I did leave at halftime. Am I the worst fan? I'm
I mean,
close.
I've been saying that for years.
This one is from 28-year-old plumber.
Hmm.
He is at D_block D chillin. I did not read his at until then, and that's pretty funny. D block chillin. He said, I like Sam Martin more than Josh today.
Mm.
I thought that was pretty good because Sam Martin finally had a game, but it's never a good game. How many games during the drought were you like, let's get Mormon into the Pro Bowl or like, Mormon's coming on? I remember going to a game one time in like 2008. I think it was the last game of the season, maybe the last home game of the season, I think was. And instead of introducing the offense or defense, they introduced special teams. And the last guy that is usually the biggest guy was Brian Mormon. And I lost my mind. I was like, yeah, Mormon rules. But like, it brought me back to like,
Hmm.
well, at least the punter's having a good game. Like everyone's like, but like it was the truth for a lot of the game that
Yeah.
you're like, well, Sam Martin's really putting him in like, back by the 20. You're like, that's good. And you're like, no, it should be kicking off. You fucks. The punter sucks. Fuck him, dude.
All right.
Quit punting. I am so sick of Sean McDermott. It's never going to change, Sean Murphy, Greg, if you're still there. I don't know, but it's never going to change. He's going to be a bitch. Greg's gone now.
Greg just left.
is it
Holy
because is it
hell.
because I called McDermott a bitch?
I mean, probably not, but
He's so soft, Sean. Another game where he doesn't go for it on fourth and short. A game where your defense is quite literally like, I mean, manhandling, doing
he's
whatever they want, and he doesn't go for it at
well,
midfield,
you know
like
what
like
I
fourth
I
and
think
three.
part of our struggles with below average teams is I think he gets more conservative because he's like, let's squeak out a win here. Whereas I feel like when we're in the playoffs,
Mm,
he's a little bit more goes for it on those fourth down plays because he's like, we need these points. This team's legit.
yeah, I hope that you're right. He has shown that in the past, but like I kind of look at it like, aren't those the teams, the shitty teams where you have three turnovers and three drives, you're sacking Bailey Zappi all over the field? Isn't that where you're like, hey, I don't want to play around the whole game, but yeah, fourth and three from midfield, maybe we should let's practice our fourth down shit here, or like, yo, let's really fucking put them
Yeah.
away like right now. And it's never going to be that guy. And it's so disappointing. And it's crazy to me that it's disappointing each time. Like you think we would learn. Again, we've
Hmm.
gone through this. You think we would learn. Oh, it's fourth and one. He's probably not going to go for it unless we're like deep in our territory. If you're even close to midfield or the 40, like, dude, he's punting. He will punt. He's so afraid of making the mistake that he makes a different mistake. At
Yeah.
this point, I wish someone would literally tell him. I wish I could corner him drunk at a bar. He wouldn't be drunk. He'd be there eating broccoli and shit. But I would be drunk. And I wish I could corner at a bar and be like, I promise you, Sean McDermott, that if it's fourth and five or less, and you're close to midfield, shit, you could be in your territory or it doesn't matter. If you're close to midfield and you go for it and don't get it, we won't boo you.
Mhm.
Like we will be like, hey, thanks for doing that. Good try, man. You know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
wouldn't even be unless it was like a draw play, which I'd be a little upset about.
Mhm.
But if he went for it, like, hey man, we won't hate you. We want you to go for it. If we realize not, well, some of
He's
us, we realize it might not work out. That is an option of you might not get the first down. But for the love of God, just try.
right.
That's it. Sorry, I went on that.
Now I hear that. Greg, are you with us?
I am, and I missed some of that. My internet connection's bad for
You
some reason.
you got the gist of
I'm a,
it, Greg. You know when I say
yeah,
things, I say the same thing over and over for 10 minutes.
I just feel bad I couldn't hum the tune to Bitchy Kyle underneath it because it was a great bitchy, bitchy rant.
He could put it in
I,
edit.
I'm assuming because I missed the beginning of it. You're talking about when they tried to do the fake draw him offsides thing, and Allen reacted like, "What are you doing?" And he basically went hut hut, and then turned to the coach and was like, "See, that didn't work. I told you it wasn't going to work. Why are we still trying to do this?" I'm assuming you're talking
No,
about
I
that part
wasn't
of that
even
game right
talking about
there.
that one in particular, but that was a good. I mean, that just
Yeah,
goes right into what I
that was
was complaining
probably
about.
Greg Bauch's boner of the season.
Oh, Allen getting mad at
Yeah.
McDermott and basically saying, "Hey, asshole, this is stupid. No one's going to fall for this. Everyone knows what you're trying to do. Stop being an idiot," type thing. Like, yes, that was the most exciting moment for me. It was pretty funny to see
I
him
totally
visibly getting
forgot
mad on
about
the
that.
field. Yeah.
That would be
Oh,
great
that.
if when Sean McDermott calls that play, Allen goes in the next time and just doesn't even say hut or anything. He just sits there and looks at McDermott like, I'm not doing, I'm embarrassed. I can't yell anymore. It's been a long season.
I wrote down a tweet. This is from a couple weeks ago, but I forgot to bring it up. As a tweet I liked.
What? Well,
So
you
it's
can't just.
yeah, it's a tweet of the December.
All right.
Um, this was by Clue Haywood. I just thought this was funny. This was when Tommy DeVito got knocked out of a game, and he just says, "Imagine being an NFL neurologist and they tell you to determine if an Italian suffered a head injury. Impossible task." That's kind of funny. That's pretty
That's
That's a
fun.
pretty
really
good.
good.
That's
That's a
good.
really good tweet. Yeah.
That's good, clean
Now,
anti-Italian fun.
how many retweets did that get?
A lot.
That's why you can't use it, Sean. You got to look for
You're right.
the
Well,
bottom of the barrel guys with 2
Mhm.
followers and
hey,
they're verified.
that's why you're the experts. I just come in every once in a while and you tell me what's what.
It's easy to
Um,
find the
Can
viral tweets. You got to fucking roll around the garbage bin at the bottom. That's where you got to find those people.
did you
um,
get the essence of the tweet of the game?
I also want to. This is another thing I saw on X, Greg's favorite platform. I just want to bring this up real quick
Mm.
because I thought it was interesting. They had this was from maybe a week ago. They had the point differential, top 5 point differential for NFL teams in the past 4 years. So since 2020.
I'm gonna
And you
hate this already.
I know, but get excited for this. Fifth place, Ravens, plus 354. Fourth place, Cowboys, plus 386. Third place, 49ers, plus 412. Second place, Chiefs, plus 428. First place, Bills, plus 614.
Hmm.
Isn't that crazy? And like, we're the only one in the top three to not go to a Super Bowl, and we're like, we're 200 above the Chiefs. That's
Yeah,
wild.
and not to again for the whole point differential crowd, one Super Bowl between them. Or
No, Chiefs too.
well, one
One
of
team.
all the
Gotcha.
teams. Yes, one team has a Super Bowl. I'm so sick of hearing about DVOA and EPA and
Yeah,
point differential and
you're an old
whatever
school fuck the stats guy.
fucking
You just look at what your
acronyms.
eyeballs see. You
I
like
just
hustle?
sorry. Yes. I mean, it's so obvious. I had to sit there and yell to our listener
Hmm.
over a year and a half that Ken Dorsey was bad. And then it took people and I had no stats on my side whatsoever. None. No stats that he was bad. They were best offense in the league according to these fucking acronyms that I don't know what they mean half the time. And everyone's tweeting them out like 100 miles an hour. I'm sitting here telling you he's bad. And then he gets fucking fired. So what the fuck do those stats tell you? Listen to me. KRT stats.
I think if, for to back up some stats here, Ken Dorsey was number one at
I
KS.
don't want to get this.
No, he was number one at KSAA. KSAE. Kyle sucks at everything. He was he was constantly first in that acronym. So that I mean he had some stats on his side. The okay, let's talk about our sponsor.
Yeah.
Kyle,
Ooh.
you're the best at talking about the sponsor. Greg can't even have his video on because he lives in the boonies. So you
Glorpy. That's a throwback to anyone who listens to the original In the Hunt
Yeah.
season.
That's
There
true.
must be
glorping
two
over here.
people on Wheatfield's Wi-Fi. Public library must be open, taking up
like
all the Wi-Fi.
it's like the old school AOL. It's like, Jim, are you online? I need to make a phone call.
Someone in Wheatfield got a video game for Christmas and they're playing it. It's fucking my whole life up.
You got to have a town meeting. All 16 people can show up. Greg, get your In the Hunt schedule on the board so we know when we have to
Hey,
go
who
outside.
here got Call of Duty for Christmas? Because this is crazy.
No wait. Revolver Records.
Oh,
I'll tell you what I like about records. They don't take up the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You can play them. If you get an old enough record player, I think you could crank it up. You don't even need to plug that bitch in. But don't quote me on that. I don't know. But Revolver Records Inc. If you like records or just music in general and you want to get into records, people are into records. You could go to any of their 4 locations, 2 in Buffalo, 1 in East Aurora, 1 in Williamsville. You can also just Google them and get whatever information you need from there. You can look at their stock. It's called stock, right?
Stock. Oh,
what they have.
what
Inventory.
They have. Yes,
Inventory.
Gotcha.
Stock inventory. I think it's the same thing. You can look at what they have.
Yes, they're not a publicly traded company, so you can't look at their stock.
Well, and let's not forget the most important part, which is if you go to their website, use that promo code in the Hunt 10 and get yourself some nice 10% off some records and support a local Buffalo business.
And podcasts.
And well, speaking of the podcast, I know, we're recording this on New Year's Day. And listen, I'm sure a bunch of you made New Year's resolutions. I'm sure at the top of the list was support things that you love, like In the Hunt. And you know how you support In the Hunt, Greg and Kyle? You go to the Patreon. Patreon.com/inthehunt for as little as $1 a month. That ain't nothing. $1 a month, $12 a year. You can support the pod. That gives you a weekly.
Stop giving that kid in Africa a cup of coffee a day.
Yeah, if you have to choose between the two.
They don't give the kids in Africa coffee. It's for the cost.
Oh,
not sending over cups of coffee.
I thought we were giving them coffee.
Oh, give them food.
That would have been a good clip if your internet fucking worked, Greg.
You get some after video of a bunch of starving kids in Africa all jittery high on caffeine because we keep sending them coffee.
They're like, for the love of God, we need water.
Kyle working for the company. Kyle's like, I don't understand what we're doing wrong.
They have enough coffee. Oh, Jesus.
My point, the point of this all being, it's easy and cheap to support the podcast. Go do that for New Year's. You get a weekly Greg Bauk blog for $1. And if you do $6, you get 2 bonus podcasts a month. The season is winding down. You still want to hear Kyle's musings. So that's how you do it.
Going to be a long off season without us every week.
Yeah.
You get on that Patreon, though, you still hear us.
There you go. And of course, speaking of Patreon, our number 1 Joe B, Derek LeClaire, his blurb for this episode, he said he just listened to last week's episode with Bitchy Kyle, and he thought that would be a great kind of heel wrestling manager, Bitchy Kyle. So he asked Greg, what would be your wrestling persona? That's a pretty good question.
I would be the guy that cries in the ring. like begs forgiveness, and
He'd
the
be
audience
Gilbert.
would be like,
The wrestling people know that.
the I don't know who that is. The
That's a real
audience would
wrestler?
like,
Gilbert was I'm gonna say this. I don't think we'll get in trouble, but you could edit this out.
Okay.
Gilbert was a real wrestler that was mocking Goldberg,
Okay.
and
I remember Goldberg.
Gilbert was essentially like mentally challenged.
I don't
Okay.
know.
That was the WWE. Yell at them.
Well, wait, so
It's not my issue.
Kyle, as our listeners know, Kyle is a huge wrestling nerd. You see
Not
him
true.
at a party at a bar, he just, oh, this reminds me of the 1987 Raw, and he'll just talk to you all day, and you're like, get this guy away from me. So, is Greg's persona that he came up with is that the closest thing you've seen? Because this could be a whole new thing. Guy,
Gilbert?
yeah, well, Greg's crying, begging for forgiveness guy. This could be a whole
You,
new thing for wrestling. This could be $1 million idea.
Oh.
you didn't let me finish.
Oh, okay.
The highlight of it is it's audience participation, like Roman Coliseum times. Like I beg forgiveness, I'm on my knees in front of the other wrestler, and he goes to the audience and he like does the thumbs up, thumbs down thing, and they decide whether or not he breaks my back. So I come into the ring every week with just like this horrific injury from the previous thing, except it's real. And like I got a back brace on, a knee brace, a neck brace, and like then he's gonna like break my finger, and the audience decides whether or not it happens. And of course, they'll always decide it happens.
I mean,
Mm.
this is pretty good.
I
I
wouldn't
like it.
put it by the WWE trying something like that and being into
They
it
make me sign a
about,
form first.
yeah.
All right. Well,
I
you know
do
what?
like the idea of a wrestler who's like more, I thought when you were saying crying, I thought you meant like emotional. Like I like the idea of a wrestler who's like in tune with his emotions.
Oh, like an
And
emo
he's
wrestler.
like, this is too WWE's has too much toxic masculinity. We need more therapy. And then he does a live therapy session instead of a match.
See, I thought the place you were going was he's emotional. Like he does a move, like he comes off the top rope and it's so beautiful. He stops and just like cries, like, did you see
No.
what I just did and how beautiful life is? That you can
I
jump
see.
off a top rope. Like every time, like he hugs the guy after body slang him because it was
That's
just
what
such a
I thought
beautiful
you were
body
gonna go
slam.
with. I
That's
thought you were
good
gonna go
too.
with like mid move. He's gonna be like, sorry. Every move.
Sorry.
Sorry.
This is gonna hurt
Sorry.
a little.
These are all great. I think are we the new Vince McMahon?
If not, we
Um,
should be.
well, let's go right into trivia. Emo Greg will start. The jersey on the line is get yourself a nice Deontay Hardy jersey. Okay.
No thanks. I lose
I'd
on
be the only one
purpose.
using it.
Oh
God.
boy.
I
He's
think
not gonna be a guest
this
now.
is a good question to start with. I like this question, Greg. Who weighs more, Deontay Hardy or me carrying 10 bricks?
Hmm. This is good. I'm
Oh
not even going to
boy.
ask how heavy the bricks are. I should know. Although I'm not a mason. 10 bricks? Definitely
You are not a Mason, that's true.
no. I'm going to say Sean carrying 10 bricks.
Okay. Kyle.
All right, I'm gonna guess. I mean, Sean's tall.
Yeah.
Super skinny though. And so I'm gonna guess, just throwing it out there, that you're like I'm gonna say 145. I'm gonna say each brick is like 2 pounds, so 165-ish. Is Hardy over that? 165. I'm gonna give Sean plus 10 bricks.
You are both correct. Well done. I have Hardy at 170, 5'6". I have myself at 142. A
Oh my God, I
nice,
was almost spot on. I was
yeah.
within 3 pounds. I'm like a carny.
And then I found a brick. I found a brick as 4.4 times 10, 44 plus was plus 142, 186. So 186
You're
to
almost
170.
you almost dwarf him. You're so big with 10 bricks.
That's true. He'd be afraid of me. I'm gonna, get a big coat on and put 10 bricks under there, and then go up to him, and he's gonna be like, "Who's this biggest man in the world?"
Who's the biggest man that stands in front of me? Whose midsection is strangely just really wide because he's carrying 10 bricks in a trench coat.
This man's a rectangle.
Question 2 to you, Kyle. Deontay Hardy averaged how many yards per rush in his senior year in high school, which was 2014? And give me the answer to 1 decimal point. Normally I say closest person gets it, but if neither of you are close, I'm not going to give it to either of you. If you're both close, that way we make the game a little bit more fun, as opposed to someone just saying, 0.1.
Yeah.
So if you're both
Well,
close, I'll give you both the point.
he's very shifty, which in high school sports, that's all you got to be.
Yeah.
And I don't think this question would be even asked if it wasn't a ridiculous number. So I'm going to go with like 20.3.
20.3. Okay. Greg.
I think it'll be ridiculous too, but I also think like 16.1 is ridiculous enough. So that's what I'll say.
16.1. I'm going to give it to Greg. The answer 11.2.
Oh, why is he even in the NFL? I could average 11 yards per carry in high school.
Sure.
It's crazy though to get 11. Every carry you're getting a first down and more. And then with those stats, he went to a Division II school and was undrafted. Like, pretty wild. All right, last question. We start with Greg. Kyle, you need this to tie it up. Greg, The Hardy Boys is a mystery series of books for teens and kids.
Oh man, okay. Sorry, I don't know what the question is.
When were they introduced? Was it 1898, 1927, 1956, or 1970?
Can I say they're also a wrestling tag team of like one of the greatest of all time? I thought that's where you're gonna go.
Of course. See, wrestling
They
nerd
used to,
Kyle.
Yeah, they used to beg forgiveness after solving mysteries in the ring. That's what they
No,
used to
one
do.
guy was addicted to drugs and alcohol. Pretty cool.
That was his thing. Like he'd be in the middle of a match and he would all of a sudden be addicted to drugs and alcohol and unable to win.
He's winning the match and he's like, "Oh no, my addiction's back."
They check him into Bryland. He has to tag out and go to Bryland. Oh, that'd be a good bit too. We should run our own wrestling league. I think we have some ideas. 1924 is the answer.
1927.
Oh, Greg, you knew
27,
that.
excuse me.
Okay. I feel like you knew that. What were
Oh,
the answers?
1898, 1927, 1956, or 1970?
Give me the 18.
Greg was on it. He took it. It was Greg's game to lose. He was all over it.
I would have guessed that, but it wouldn't have.
Yeah, I know. But Greg, the Deontay Hardy jersey goes to you. Congratulations. So let's preview our last week here. Before we get into Miami, next week we need one of 3 results. We still haven't punched that playoff ticket. So we need to either win, Steelers lose to Baltimore, or Jacksonville lose to the Titans. The scenarios, depending on what happens, is if we win, we get the number 2 seed, and we'd play question mark at home. We lose number 6 seed, probably at Kansas City. Another possibility is we lose with a number 7 seed at Miami. We have kind of a back-to-back game there. Or we could still miss the playoffs entirely if none of those 3 things go our way, which would be a devastating and Billsy end to the season. But we got to get it done at Miami. Game flex to Sunday night. Miami has no Phillips, no Chubb, no Howard.
I got a Chubb.
There it was. I was setting them up.
Had to do it.
They call that an alley-oop. There's kind of a question mark around Tua got hurt near the end of the game. Hill's been hobbled. Waddle missed last game. Mostert missed last game. So they're pretty banged up. Maybe they get a couple of those people back at the tail end of my sentence there, but pretty banged up, but they're at home. Bills normally have their number, but they're playing a bit weird. What happens next week? What do you guys think?
You can go, Greg.
Okay,
I
so
can't
I
see your
was
face.
since I was Glorpy, I was gonna let you go first. I what wins out, the Miami fraud thing or the Bills have to torture their fans thing? I really do think the Bills are just in a good place. Quan Jones coming back is huge. I see them winning this game. It's going to be a torture game, though. I think it's going to be
Yep.
pretty close. But you know what Miami's missing and what they have on the line. The fact that it's in Miami, so the weather's going to be good. I actually like. I might almost want it in Miami more than Buffalo because the weather won't affect the game at all, and Buffalo could be 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
not like the fans in Miami. The fans there are pathetic. It'll be more Bills fans than Miami fans. So I like them winning a close game.
Wow.
Here it is. Bitchy
Yeah.
Kyle, season on the line. Is he bitchy or is he not?
Well, can I start with my key to the game?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. You're right. We
All
need that key
right.
to the game.
So the key to the game is obviously Tua is left-handed,
Hmm.
right? So before the game, we tell him we have a left-handed football for him,
Oh, okay.
and then we don't show him it. And then as the game starts, he's like, "Hey, I need that left-handed ball," and it's a soccer ball.
That's so stupid.
Okay.
And
And
then
that'll
he's
just throw him
fucked.
off. That's it. Like, what's he even gonna do at that point?
um, man, both teams are not playing as up to their potential. Let me say that. Instead of saying bad, it seems like both teams are not playing as well as they were. The problem is for the Bills is that Miami has been missing some players.
Mm,
Like you mentioned, both starting wide receivers who are great, missing. Last week, Raheem Mostert, not that I think he would have changed the game. The guy has 21 touchdowns on the year. He's out. He's between Hill and Mostert, they're missing huge players on offense. I don't like you said, I don't know if they're coming back or not. A Chain is it can handle the load as he did last week. As I have been for 2 years, is what version of the Bills offense are we getting? Are we getting the offense that beat them in week 3? Are we getting the offense that went toe to toe with Philadelphia and put up 500 yards? Or are we going with the offense that showed up yesterday that just wasn't clicking and relied heavily on defense? I don't know. So I will default to that offense is not showing up, and
mm,
Miami's offense will show up, and Miami will win 51-10.
mm. Well, I will say the thing, thank you for being consistent all year. The thing that does worry me is a lot of times when a team gets their shit kicked in, they play much better the next week. Not always, but like Miami got really handled by Baltimore and they'll be home. They do have that injury problem, which I think could help us big, but you never know. I'm worried about it. What would be nice is if on Saturday the Steelers could lose. They play Saturday at 4:30. Seems less likely because Baltimore will probably be resting some people because they got that number one sewed up. But if Pittsburgh could lose on Saturday, you feel a lot better going into Sunday, at least knowing the playoffs are intact.
I don't know about the Baltimore resting thing as much because they don't play for 2 weeks. Like they know they have that bye,
Yeah,
so
that's
they're
a good.
gonna probably play a couple of series the first half. And
That's true.
Pittsburgh's that. I don't think
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's that good at all. So it would be
And
nice if
it's a
they catch up on the
rival
playoffs.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe in
It's
the
a rival
rivalry
team
thing
that could
too.
be in it. They want to kick Pittsburgh out of the playoffs,
Yeah.
is
Good
how
point.
I'd assume they're gonna want
And I actually think that game has a better chance than the Titans Jacksonville. Although I guess you never know with Trevor Lawrence, his health, but Tennessee, at least Baltimore is a good team, even if they play kind of some backups where Tennessee's really up and down. And God, I just hope they make the play. What a bummer it would be to win all these games in a
Yeah.
row and then missed the playoffs in the last week.
Greg would be happy. Wouldn't have to do any more podcasts.
Yeah,
I
would
did
be less
think about the
podcasts.
fact that this could be our last pod next week. I'm nothing if not consistent.
I totally forgot to bring this up, and I don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter. Some people were tweeting about it. I want to get your opinions on it. So in the stadium, they have the out of town scores on the Jumbotron.
Yeah.
And yesterday, they did not show Miami Baltimore at all. Is that's for sure a McDermott order?
Yep.
And now, do you think it was, I don't want my players to get distracted by watching the out of town scores, or I don't want to get distracted and start getting emotional in my decision making, so I don't want to see this.
Well, on the game, they said that McDermott didn't want his players to be scoreboard watching.
Okay, so that was it. They said it during the game, during the broadcast. Interesting.
I think it was he just hates the fans.
I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't like us most of the time, to be honest with you.
Why would you expect someone else to like us if you hate us?
Oh, you mean the guys that call me a pussy bitch every week on Twitter? No, I love them. I can't wait to hand deliver Christmas gifts.
Well, I think that's our episode. Do you guys have any final thoughts or anything to plug, Kyle?
No. Long season. We're still going now. That's true. It. I meant us, not the Bills.
Yeah.
Us three. We're still kicking.
We're kind of the ultimate warriors. You know, we're out there on the podcast gridiron.
Wait a minute. Are you talking about the Ultimate Warrior, the wrestler? Are you making wrestling?
Every noun is a wrestler, apparently.
You like wrestling.
And Greg, any final thoughts or plugs for you?
No, shout out to Verizon 5G in Wheatfield, New York. Gotta love it.
That's it. Go support the Patreon and go support Revolver Records. Follow us on YouTube and X, as Greg makes me call it. And that's been our episode. We'll see you next week with hopefully good news. Hopefully it's not a bitchy Kyle and a bitchy Sean and a bitchy Greg.
Yeah. All the good news is next week, if they are in the playoffs, we'll know who they're playing for the last game. So we could have a long conversation.
Nothing Greg likes more than a long pod. Happy New Year's, Greg.
Thanks, sweeto.
Sweeto.
The Bills won.